Good morning, dear students. Today's topic is the large intestine. The specimen, you can call that it is the specimen of the large intestine except rectum and anal canal, or otherwise you can tell that this is a specimen of colon along with the cecum and the appendix. So before going to the main topic, you must have some knowledge regarding the different quadrant of the abdomen. So come to this side. So the abdomen has been divided into different quadrants by two vertical line and two horizontal line. The vertical line, those are the mid-clavicular line, and it descends down from the midpoint of the clavicle up to the midway between the inguinal ligament. That is the line drawn from the point anterior superior iliac spine and the symphysis pubis. The two vertical lines, and the transverse line will be the transpyloric plane and the transtubercular plane. Transpyloric plane is a horizontal line which is passing between the lumbar 1 and lumbar 2 vertebra in front, and behind it is the line passing through the spine of the lumbar 1 vertebra. And this line passes over different structure, different viscera of the abdomen. One of the viscera is the pylorus of the stomach, so it is called the transpyloric plane. Another plane, horizontal plane, that is, it passes through the bony point, anterior superior, the tubercle of the iliac crest, so it is called the transtubercular plane. Tubercle of the iliac crest, so it is called the transtubercular plane. So with these four vertical lines, the anterior abdominal wall or the surface of the abdomen, it has been divided into 9 quadrants. The quadrant, upper quadrant, middle quadrant and the lower quadrant. Upper quadrant, the intermediate one is called the epigastrium. The right lateral one, the right hypochondrium. The left lateral one, the left hypochondrium. The intermediate 3 quadrants are the middle quadrant is the umbilical region, the right lateral quadrant, that is called the right lumbar, and the left lateral, that is called the left lumbar region. Now coming to the lower quadrant, the intermediate one, that is called the middle one, that is called the hypogastrium, the right lateral one, the right iliac fossa, the left lateral one, the left iliac fossa. The large intestine, the different part of the large intestine lies within the different quadrants arch over the small intestine. It starts from the ileocecal junction which lies in the right iliac fossa, then coming to the ascending colon which lies within the right lumbar region, then coming to the transverse colon which lies mostly in the umbilical region, and in erect posture it may descend down in the hypogastric region, hypogastrium or hypogastric region also. Then the left colic flexure or the splenic flexure it lies in the left hypochondrium. Then the descending colon, it lies in the left lumbar region, and the sigmoid colon, it lies in the left iliac fossa and also the hypogastrium. Now come to the different parts of the. Before going to the different parts of the large intestine, we must have some knowledge regarding the differentiation between the small intestine and the large intestine. If you hold the viscera of the small intestine, we can appreciate that the caliber or the diameter of the tube, it is smaller than the large intestine. Okay, and the small intestine, mostly it is freely present in our body within the peritoneal fold, that is called the mesentery. And in case of large intestine, it is mostly fixed in our body except some portion, that is the appendix, the transverse colon and the sigmoid colon. Now as there is the function of the large intestine is mostly the absorption of the water and the fluid fecal unabsorbed fecal matter. It passes through the large intestine, and for the smooth passage, the large intestine mucosa contains most of the goblet cells which secretes mucus for the smooth passage of the undigested matter. The small intestine contains the villi. The large intestine does not have the villi, and the length of the small intestine is larger than it is 6 meter, whereas the length of the large intestine it is 1.5 meter. Now, coming to the main topic of the main features of the large intestine. So, what are the parts of the length of the large intestine? I have mentioned that it is 1.5 meter. And what are the parts? The first part, it starts from the commencement of the large intestine, that is the cecum. That is the cecum. Cecum, and at the level of the transtubercular plane, it is continuous with the ascending colon, and ascending colon ends at the right colic flexure or hepatic flexure. It lies just below the right lobe of the liver. Then it bends towards the left, forming the transverse colon. Transverse colon ends at the left colic flexure or splenic flexure, and from the splenic flexure, the part which descends down vertically, that is the descending colon. The descending colon again it extends from the left colic flexure up to the left pelvic brim, and from the left pelvic brim up to in front of the third sacral vertebra. The part of the colon is called the sigmoid colon. So, from the commencement of the large intestine, ileocecal junction, cecum, then ascending colon, right colic flexure or hepatic flexure, transverse colon, left colic flexure or splenic flexure, then descending colon, and from the descending colon, that is the up to the rectosigmoid junction, that is the sigmoid colon. Now, coming to the different part of the each part of the details. The first part, that is called the cecum or blind pouch. It starts from the ileocecal junction up to the starting of the ascending colon, that means the transtubercular plane. The length of the cecum is 6 centimeter. The width of the cecum is 7.5 centimeter. So there are many organs present in our body which are having the shorter length in comparison to the width. That is, these organs are cerebellum, pituitary gland, prostate. Now, the main feature of the large intestine, three cardinal feature of the large intestine, those are the presence of Taenia coli. What is that? Taenia coli, these are the three thick band due to the aggregation of the longitudinal muscle of the wall of the large intestine. The three thick bands, they are of different names. The anterior one is called the Taenia libera. The posterior medial one, which is called the Taenia mesocolica, and the posterolateral one is called the Taenia omenthalis. So, in the different vertical position vertical part of the large intestine, they are aligned in such a position. But in case of transverse colon, the position of the different tinea has been changed. How? The tinea libera, they lie on the inferior aspect of the transverse colon. The tinea mesocolica lies on the posterior aspect of the transverse colon, where the transverse mesocolon is attached, and the tinea ommentalis, which lies on the anterosuperior aspect, where the greater omentum is attached. So they are named in such a fashion. Okay. Now all the three tinea, they converge at the base of the one diverticulum, that is called the appendix, vermiform appendix. The another cardinal feature of the large intestine, that is the second cardinal feature of the large intestine, that is the appendices epiploica. What is that? That is the peritoneal pouch contains the fat. Appendices epiploica present in the ascending colon, descending colon, transverse colon mostly, but it does not present in the rectum, anal canal and the appendix. The third cardinal feature of the large intestine is the hostration or sacculation. What is that? Hostration and sacculation. The 6-meter large intestine inserted over the 4-meter tinea coli. So the surface of the large intestine becomes puckered or sacculated. That is called the hostration or sacculation. These three cardinal features, tinea coli, appendices epiploica and the hostration, they are not present in the appendix, rectum, anal canal. Now coming to the main feature of the cecum, it is the blind pouch, and if we cut the cecum inside, we can appreciate the orifice, which is the ileocecal junction or commencement of the large intestine, and it is guarded by one valve due to the folding of the mucosa of the large intestine. It has the valve has got upper lip and lower lip. The upper lip is horizontal, upper lip and the lower lip. The upper lip is horizontal and lower lip is concave. The two lip unites laterally to form the frenula. The function of the valve is to control the flow of the content of the terminal ileum to the cecum, and it also prevent the regurgitation of the content of the cecum to the terminal ileum of the small intestine. This orifice or ileocecal orifice, it lies on the posteromedial wall, and below the 2 centimeter below the this orifice on the posteromedial wall, we can appreciate another opening, that is opening for the vermiform appendix. It is guarded by the valve of Gerlach, semilunar opening, that is the opening for the vermiform appendix. The cecum has got the same 4 layers of the gastrointestinal tract from outside to inwards. It has got layer of the serosa, then muscularis externa, then submucosa and the mucosa. The mucosa layer, it contains superficial epithelium, lamina propria and the muscularis interna. And the superficial epithelium is simple columnar epithelium, but it contains profuse goblet cell for the secretion of the mucus. Now the blood supply of the cecum, it is supplied by the anterior and posterior celiac artery. As the cilium is a part of the midgut, so it is supplied by the artery which is supplying the midgut, that is superior mesenteric artery. The superior mesenteric artery has got three divisions: right colic, middle colic, right colic and ileocolic. The inferior division of the ileocolic gives the supply of the cecum. It is supplied by the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve. Sympathetic supply comes from the T10 segment and parasympathetic by the vagus, and the venous drainage by the superior mesenteric vein. Now coming to the different relation, the cecum anteriorly it is related with the anterior abdominal wall. The cecum, it is present in the right iliac fossa and it is related with the anterior abdominal wall and different muscles of the anterior abdominal wall. Posteriorly, it is related with the iliopsoas muscle, fossa iliaca, then iliohypogastric, ilioinguinal nerve and lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. Below the iliac fascia lies the trunk of the femoral nerve. Now coming to the part vermiform appendix. It is a tubular blind tubule with 5 millimeter lumen. The length of the vermiform appendix is 2 centimeter to 20 centimeter. Average is the 9 centimeter, and it has got one mesentery that is called the mesoappendix. So the length of the mesoappendix is shorter than the length of the appendix, so it becomes puckered or kinked on itself. The mesoappendix, it comes from the left or posterior layer of the mesentery of the ileum, and it contains the appendicular artery, the lymphatic vessels and the nerve. But the appendicular artery, it does not reach up to the tip of the appendix. So the tip of the appendix is least vascular. Now the appendix has got the base and the body and the tip. The tip, it lies in our body in different position. When the tip of the appendix lies on the below the cecum, that is called the subcecal position, and the tip, it is directed parallel to the cecal wall. So that is the paracolic position. When the tip of the appendix lies posterior to the cecum, that is called the retrocolic position, and it is the most common position. The another different position, it may be upwards and medially directed to towards the spleen, that is splenic position. The splenic position may be preilial or postileal. The preilial position is the dangerous position. Another may be the promontory position. These are the different position of the tip of the vermiform appendix. As the lumen of the appendix is very much short, though the fecal matter may be hardened, they form the fecolith and they obstruct the lumen and forms the present with the infection, that is called the appendicitis. Appendicitis may present with the fever, vomiting, pain abdomen. The pain abdomen first of all, patient may face in the umbilical region due to the same segmental innervation. Then when the infection spread to the parietal peritoneum, then it is felt in the right iliac fossa. The maximum tenderness or feeling of pain can be elicited over the area one point, that is elicited by drawing a line from the anterior superior iliac spine and umbilicus, that is called the McBurney's point, at the junction of the lateral 1/3 and medial 2/3. So McBurney's point is the point where maximum tenderness will be elicited in a case of appendicitis presenting with the fever, pain, vomiting. So it is very prominent clinical findings when we can elicit maximum tenderness at the point of McBurney's point, joining the line anterior superior iliac spine and the umbilicus at the junction of the lateral 1/3 and medial 2/3. Appendix is supplied by the appendicular artery, which is coming from the inferior division of the ileocholic artery, and it is supplied, sympathetic supply coming from the thoracic 10 segment spine of the spinal cord, and parasympathetic supply from the vagus. Now coming to the second part, that is the ascending colon. I have told ascending colon initiates from the plane which is called the transtubercular plane, and it is continuous from the part of the cecum and extend up to the right colic flexure or hepatic flexure. The length of the ascending colon, that is the 15 centimeter, and it has got the three cardinal feature of the large intestine, that means the tinea coli, appendices epiploici, and the sacculation or hostration. The anterior relation, it comes with the anterior abdominal wall. Posteriorly, it comes in relation with the different muscle, that means the transversus abdominis, quadratus lumborum, and the vessels, subcostal vessels and nerve. Then at the level of the right colic flexure or hepatic flexure, it comes in relation with the lower pole of the kidney posteriorly. Then medially, both the ascending and descending colon, as they lie on the posterior abdominal wall, the peritoneum reflects from the posterior wall and attach to the side of the descending colon and the ascending colon, forming one groove on medially and laterally, that is the paracolic gutter. Paracolic gutter. The lateral paracolic gutter on the right side, parallel to the ascending colon, it extends above up to the kidney. Then laterally ascending colon, we can tell it comes in relation to the right paracolic gutter, and medial paracolic gutter. And medially ascending colon, it also comes in relation with the coils of the intestine and the greater omentum. The ascending colon, it is supplied by the different branch coming from the superior mesenteric artery, that is the branch coming from the right colic and the ileocholic, and they anastomose and forming the arterial arcade, which is called the marginal artery of Drummond. It is also supplied by the sympathetic nerve coming from the segment of the T12 to L1, and parasympathetic by the vagus. Now coming to the right colic flexure. or hepatic flexure. It is the bend of the large intestine on the right side, 10 centimeter from the midline. It lies on the on a plane which lies 2.5 centimeter below 2.5 centimeter below the transpyloric plane, and it comes in relation with the colic impression of the inferior surface of the liver. From the right colic flexure, again the colon bends towards the left and it crosses the midline and extend up to the left colic flexure. From the right colic flexure to the left colic flexure, the part of the colon is called the transverse colon, as it lies transversely, and the transverse colon, the length of the transverse colon is the 50 centimeter. The transverse colon has got also the different cardinal feature of the large intestine, that means the tinea coli, the sacculation or hostration, and the appendices epiploiky. Here the disposition of the different tinea coli differs from the ascending and descending colon. The tinea libera, it lies on inferior aspect. The tinea mesocolica, it lies on the posterior aspect where the transverse mesocolon is attached, and tinea ommentalis, which lies on the anterior superior aspect along with the attachment of the greater omentum. The transverse colon proper, it is V-shaped, is directed downwards, forwards, and it descends up to the umbilical region in erect posture. But in supine position, it often lies on the anterior aspect of the stomach also. So on posterior aspect, the transverse mesocolon is attached. Within the transverse mesocolon, this is the peritoneal fold. Within the transverse mesocolon lies the marginal artery vessels or marginal artery of Drummond, which is formed by the arterial anastomosis branch coming from the superior mesenteric artery and the inferior mesenteric artery. The development of the transverse mesocolon, we can tell that the anterior, the lateral, the medial 2/3, it is developed from the midgut, and the lateral 1/3, it is developed from the hindgut. So the variation of the blood supply of the transverse colon is that the right 2/3, it is supplied from the superior branches coming from the superior mesenteric artery, and left 1/3, it comes from the branches of the inferior mesenteric artery. The different artery, the branches coming from the different artery, from the right colic artery, middle colic artery, and the left colic artery, which is a branch of the inferior mesenteric artery. Now, coming to the left colic flexure or splenic flexure, it is an acute bend and it lies 2.5 centimeter above the transpyloric plane. So it lies on the left hypochondrium of the among the 9 quadrants of the abdomen. It has got one triangular attachment of the peritoneal fold, which is called the phrenicocholic ligament. It is attached with the left colic flexure to the diaphragm, and over this ligament lies the lateral pole of the spleen. This is the transverse mesocolon, which lies posteriorly on the head and body of the pancreas, and the superior layer, it is continuous with the third and fourth layer of the greater omentum. This is the greater omentum. So this is the transverse mesocolon, and this is the part of the large intestine, that is the transverse colon. It starts from the right colic flexure or hepatic flexure and ends in the left colic flexure or splenic flexure. Okay. On the left colic flexure, we can appreciate one ligament, that is the phrenico-colic ligament, where the lateral end of the spleen lies. The left colic flexure, it lies in relation with the colic impression of the spleen, tail of the pancreas, and it lies on the more posterior to the than the right colic flexure. From the left colic flexure, the part of the large intestine which descend down vertically, that is the descending colon. The descending colon, the length of the descending colon is the 25 centimeter, and it extends from the left colic flexure to the up to the left pelvic brim. The descending colon has got the three cardinal features of the large intestine, and it comes in relation of the anterior abdominal wall, but posteriorly it comes in relation with the muscles, iliopsoas muscle, fascia iliaca, then nerves, subcostal vessels and nerves, iliohypogastric, ilioinguinal nerve. Along with it comes in relation with the ureter. Then the fourth part of the large intestine, that is the sigmoid colon. It starts at the pelvic brim and ends in front of the third sacral vertebra in the pelvic cavity. The sigmoid colon comes from the word sigma, so it has got one vertical part, one horizontal part, and again one vertical part. The vertical part, it comes down along the lateral wall of the pelvic cavity, and here it comes in relation with the internal iliac, which is coming from the common iliac vessels, in relation with the internal iliac vessels. Then the horizontal part, which starts from the pelvic brim or sacroiliac joint up to the sacroiliac joint, and it crossing the midline in the pelvic cavity. Then again the vertical part, which lies in front of the third sacral vertebra. The sigmoid colon has got the mesentery, that is called the sigmoid mesocolon. Sigmoid mesocolon. The shape of the sigmoid mesocolon is the inverted V-shaped, and the apex inverted V-shaped, and the apex lies at the bifurcation of the common iliac vessels. It contains the left, it has got left limb and the right limb. The left limb contains the left ureter. The sigmoid colon, again it is supplied by the branches coming from the inferior mesenteric artery, and it is also supplied by the sigmoid artery, which is coming from the branches coming from the superior rectal artery. It has got the three cardinal features of the large intestine, that means the appendices epiploicae, then tinea, and the sacculation or hostration. But at the level 5 centimeter above to the rectocecal junction, the three tinea, they become converge and they form the two tinea, that means one anterior and one posterior tinea. So with this we can conclude the gross features of the large intestine.